I'm Marta. There is a special kind of betrayal that comes not from an enemy, but from the person whose face you first held in your hands. The person whose very breath once synchronized with your own. My daughter, Caroline, built her life as one builds a museum. Every detail curated, every surface polished for display. She wasn't just a mother, a wife, a homemaker. She was the director of appearances. And in that museum of her own making, I became problematic. A piece that no longer fit the exhibition. An artifact from a less polished time. When she made a mistake, a human flawed but consequential mistake, that threatened to crack the pristine facade, she did not own it. She could not. The museum's integrity was at stake. So she needed a story. And I, her mother, became the villain of that story. The convenient scapegoat. The unstable, interfering force she could blame. She told lies to the person she'd vowed to cherish. She spread whispers to the community we shared. She even planted seeds of fear and doubt in the hearts of my own grandchildren, all to protect the illusion of her perfection. And I stayed silent. Not because the lies didn't cut. They cut deeper than any stranger's cruelty ever could. I stayed silent because I loved her. I believed foolishly that by absorbing her poison, I was drawing it out of her. That my silence was a kind of love. But love has limits. And silence has a price. The truth, I have learned, is not a gentle creature. It is patient, and it is relentless. And when it finally surfaced, not because I revealed it, but because her own actions could no longer be hidden, it didn't just crack her facade. It brought the entire museum down around her. When she came to me, shattered, expecting the unconditional sanctuary only a mother can provide, she found something else instead. Not a closed door, but a mirror. And the courage to hold it up to her, at last, was the hardest act of love I have ever performed. Caroline was my only child. After her father died when she was 10, it was just us. Perhaps that's where it began. My love for her was so vast, so protective, that I may have accidentally taught her that the world was a stage upon which she must perform flawlessly to be safe, to be loved. And perform she did. She was the star student, the perfectly dressed teenager, the bride whose wedding was featured in a local magazine. She married Peter, a kind, solid man from a good family. They moved into a beautiful colonial in an esteemed neighborhood. Caroline didn't just keep house. She curated a home. Every throw pillow had a provenance. Every meal was Instagram ready before a bite was taken. Her children, Liam and Sophie, were not just loved. They were presented, outfitted in coordinated outfits, enrolled in the right activities, their achievements framed as extensions of her successful motherhood. I was proud of her competence. But I also saw the terror in her eyes when a toy was left on the floor during an unexpected guest's arrival. I heard the sharp edge in her voice when Peter suggested a casual barbecue instead of a formal dinner party. Her life was a beautiful, high-pressure performance, and she was both the star and the anxious stage manager. My role was carefully assigned. The supportive, slightly doting grandmother. I was allowed to be warm, to bake cookies, to tell old stories. But I was to have no opinions on parenting, no critiques of her decor, no messy emotions that might disrupt the set. I was part of the exhibit. Nurturing roots. I played my part. I bit my tongue when I thought she was too hard on the children about trivial messes. I smiled when she dismissed my simpler, slower way of life as quaint. I accepted my role in her narrative because seeing her happy, or what looked like happiness, was enough. The mistake was financial. It wasn't malicious, just terribly misguided and hidden by pride. Peter handled their investments, but Caroline managed the household accounts. She was meticulous, or so everyone believed. 2 years ago, she became enthralled with an influencer promoting luxury lifestyle hacking. Ways to maintain the appearance of wealth through clever credit card churning. By now, pay later schemes, and high-risk micro-investments. It was a world built on optics, and she was its perfect disciple. Without telling Peter, she leveraged their home's equity line of credit to fund what she was told was a sure thing, in a new cryptocurrency. She wasn't trying to be deceitful, I believe. She was trying to contribute, to be the savvy modern wife who could make their beautiful life even more financially pristine. To surprise him, the investment was, of course, a scam. It collapsed overnight. $75,000 vanished from their line of credit. Panic is a cold, clarifying water. When she realized what had happened, her first thought wasn't to go to her husband. It was to protect the narrative of her as the capable, flawless manager of their domestic paradise. To tell Peter would be to shatter that narrative forever. She needed a reason for the missing money. A reason that wouldn't be her fault, and I was there. Always there. The older, less financially savvy mother. The potential liability. She began with Peter. She crafted the story over a week, letting anxiety show in carefully measured doses. She'd sigh heavily while looking at the computer. She'd become distracted. Finally, one night, she staged the confession. Tears, real tears of fear and shame. But redirected. Peter, something awful has happened. I've been trying to handle it, but I can't anymore. He was immediately concerned. What is it, sweetheart? It's Mom. She took a shuddering breath. She came to me a few months ago. She was in a state, absolutely panicked. She said she'd made a terrible investment mistake, that she was going to lose her house. She begged me for a loan from our line of credit. She swore she'd pay it back in 60 days when her investment matured. Peter stared, shocked. My God. Why didn't you tell me? She made me swear. She said she'd be so humiliated. You know how proud she is. And I felt so sorry for her. She seemed so unstable, so desperate. I just wanted to help her. How much, Caroline? She looked down, whispering. 75,000. Peter was a good man, but not a suspicious one. His wife was crying. His mother-in-law, while beloved, was of a generation that might not understand modern finance. The story fit, in a horrible way, and the investment? He asked. Caroline broke down into full sobs. It was a scam. She lost it all. And now she's pretending it never happened, or that it wasn't that much. She's rewriting reality, Peter. I'm scared for her. And I'm so sorry. I was trying to protect her, and I've failed us. The lie was born. And it was a masterpiece. It painted her as a compassionate, if naive victim. It painted me as an unstable, reckless, and duplicitous old woman. But one lie needs supporting lies. To explain why Peter shouldn't confront me directly, she told him I was fragile. That confrontation might send me over the edge. To explain her sudden coldness toward me to others, she began the whisper campaign. To her neighbor over the fence. We're just so worried about Martha. Her memory. She says things that aren't true. It's putting a strain on us. To her friend at coffee. I had to limit her time with the kids. She's become so unpredictable. Last week she forgot to pick up Liam from soccer. It's not safe. She weaponized normal aging quirks. A forgotten word, a moment of distraction. And turned them into evidence of my decline. She was protecting her children, you see. She was the responsible one. The cruelest cut was with Liam and Sophie, then 8 and 10. Grandma's mind is getting a little tired, she told them gently. Sometimes she gets confused and says things that aren't real. If she says something strange, just smile and tell Mommy, okay? She built a wall of lies between my grandchildren and me. And she made herself the heroic gatekeeper. I noticed the chill first. Peter's hugs became stiff, his eyes avoiding mine. The children became hesitant, watching me with a cautious, assessing look that broke my heart. Invitations to their house dwindled, then stopped. My calls to Caroline went to voicemail. Texts were answered with curt, distant replies. Busy. Kids are sick. Can't talk. When I finally went to their house, unannounced, bearing Liam's favorite lemon cake for his birthday, it was Caroline who answered. She didn't open the screen door. Mom, now's not a good time. I just brought cake for Liam. Can I at least say happy birthday? Her voice dropped to a harsh whisper. I need you to go. Please. You're causing problems. What problems? Caroline, what is happening? Her eyes were hard, desperate. Just go. And don't come by unannounced anymore. It's not good for the kids. I stood on that porch, holding a cake, feeling like a stranger. The lie was now a living thing, and it was standing between me and my family. I learned the details of the lie in fragments. A neighbor, uncomfortable, asked if I was doing okay financially. Peter's sister called me, saying Peter had mentioned I was going through a hard time, and to be gentle with me. The pieces assembled into the horrific picture. My own daughter had not just blamed me. She had constructed an alternate reality where I was a pathetic, destabilizing force. My first instinct was rage. To storm over, to demand, to scream the truth. But I looked at that lie, that intricate, grotesque sculpture she'd built, and I knew. If I attacked it, I would be the unstable one she'd warned them about. I would be proving her right. So I chose silence. A painful, strategic silence. I continued to send birthday cards. I left gentle voicemails. I lived my life openly and consistently, volunteering, seeing my friends, my accounts in perfect order. I was a quiet, steady refutation of her claims. But the silence was a tomb. I was grieving my daughter while she was still alive. The lie, like all structures built on false foundations, could not withstand pressure. Caroline's pressure was her need to maintain the lifestyle the lost $75,000 was supposed to enhance. They began to struggle financially. Peter, thinking the money was lost to my scam, tightened the belt, but it wasn't enough. Bills mounted. Caroline, to keep up appearances, opened secret credit cards. The collapse began with a piece of paper. A credit card statement, for an account Peter didn't recognize, arrived in the mail. He opened it. $25,000 in debt. Charges for designer home goods, luxury clothing, high-end gym memberships. He confronted Caroline. This time, her tears weren't as effective. He demanded answers. In her panic, her story began to unravel. She blamed shifting work bonuses, then unexpected expenses. But Peter, now awake to deception, started digging. He went to the bank. He reviewed the line of credit transfers. And he saw it. The money hadn't been transferred to me. It had been sent to a digital wallet he'd never heard of. He confronted her with the paper trails. Cornered, exhausted from 2 years of living the lie she broke. The full truth spilled out. Her obsession with the influencer, the get-rich-quick scheme, the initial loss, and the desperate, terrible decision to blame me to save face. My first instinct was rage. To storm over, to demand, to scream the truth. But I looked at that lie, that intricate, grotesque sculpture she'd built, and I knew. If I attacked it, I would be the unstable one she'd warned them about. I would be proving her right. So I chose silence. A painful, strategic silence. I continued to send birthday cards. I left gentle voicemails. I lived my life openly and consistently, volunteering, seeing my friends, my accounts in perfect order. I was a quiet, steady refutation of her claims. But the silence was a tomb. I was grieving my daughter while she was still alive. The lie, like all structures built on false foundations, could not withstand pressure. Caroline's pressure was her need to maintain the lifestyle the lost $75,000 was supposed to enhance. They began to struggle financially. Peter, thinking the money was lost to my scam, tightened the belt, but it wasn't enough. Bills mounted. Caroline, To keep up appearances, opened secret credit cards. The collapse began with a piece of paper. A credit card statement, for an account Peter didn't recognize, arrived in the mail. He opened it. $25,000 in debt. Charges for designer home goods, luxury clothing, high-end gym memberships. He confronted Caroline. This time, her tears weren't as effective. He demanded answers. In her panic, her story began to unravel. She blamed shifting work bonuses, then unexpected expenses. But Peter, now awake to deception, started digging. He went to the bank. He reviewed the line of credit transfers. And he saw it. The money hadn't been transferred to me. It had been sent to a digital wallet he'd never heard of. He confronted her with the paper trails. Cornered, exhausted from 2 years of living the lie she broke. The full truth spilled out. Her obsession with the influencer, the get-rich-quick scheme, the initial loss, and the desperate, terrible decision to blame me to save face. Peter was devastated. Not just by the money, but by the betrayal. The elaborate, long-term betrayal of him. And the horrific betrayal of her own mother. The woman he thought he was married to, the honest, impeccable curator, didn't exist. He gave her an ultimatum. Tell everyone the truth, starting with me, or he would file for divorce and tell them himself. Her perfect world was not just cracked. It was obliterated. She came to my house on a Sunday afternoon. She looked like she had aged 10 years. The perfect blowout was greasy, the expensive sweater was wrinkled. The performance was over. She didn't speak at first. She just stood in my foyer, weeping, the raw, ugly crying of total defeated. My heart, that traitorous organ, leapt with a mother's instinct to soothe. Every fiber of my being wanted to pull her to me, to whisper that it was all right, to absorb her pain as I had when she was small. But the memory of the exile stopped me. The memory of my grandchildren's wary eyes. The stiffness in Peter's spine. The whispers in my own neighborhood. "Come in, Caroline," I said, my voice calm, devoid of the warmth she expected. I led her not to the comfortable sofa where we'd cuddled for movies, but to the straight-back chairs at my kitchen table. A place for conversations, not comfort. She sat, her body folded in on itself. "Mom, I know what you did," I said quietly. "Peter called me this morning. He told me everything." She flinched as if struck. "I'm so sorry. I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. I panicked." "You didn't panic, Caroline," I said, my voice still steady, though my hands trembled in my lap. "You conducted a campaign. For 2 years. You turned me into a monster in the eyes of my son-in-law, my neighbors, and my own grandchildren to protect your reputation. That wasn't panic. That was a choice. A long series of calculated choices." She stared at me, shocked by my directness. She had expected absolution, not accountability. "I want to make it right," she sobbed. "You cannot make it right," I said. "The lie is a stain. You can only begin the long, hard work of trying to clean it. And that work starts with absolute honesty. Not with me, but with everyone you poisoned against me. Liam and Sophie first. They'll hate me," she wailed. "They might be angry. They might be confused. But children understand truth better than we give them credit for. What will make them hate you is if they learn years from now that you let them believe a lie about someone who loved them. That you made them complicit in hurting me." I pushed a box of tissues toward her. It was a small gesture, but it was all I could offer. The open arms she wanted were closed. They had to be. To open them now would be to tell her that such a profound betrayal could be easily wiped away with tears. It would devalue the love she had so carelessly weaponized. "I love you," I said, and the words were true and heavy as stones. "I will always love you." But love is not a blanket that covers over evil. Love is sometimes the clear light that shows us the damage we've done. I am that light for you right now, Caroline, however much it hurts. And from now on, our relationship will be built in that light, or it will not be built at all. She left an hour later, not comforted, but sobered. The path before her was clear. A brutal, public unraveling of her own lies, a humbling before her children and her community, and the slow, uncertain work of earning back trust, from Peter, from her children, and from me. That was a year ago. Caroline told the children, with Peter and me present. It was agony. She had to simplify it, but she told them the truth. Mommy made a big mistake with money, and then I told a very big lie and blamed Grandma. I was wrong. Grandma never did anything wrong. I am so sorry to both of you and to Grandma. The children were confused, angry. Liam asked, "So you lied to us about Grandma?" That question, from a 10-year-old, was her true punishment. She had to repeat some version of this to neighbors, to friends. The social currency she'd prized was worthless now. Many relationships did not survive. The director of appearances was seen, for the first time, as utterly human, flawed, incapable of profound deceit. Peter stayed, but it is a marriage in recovery. They sold the big house. They see a counselor. The museum is closed. They are building a smaller, plainer, but hopefully more honest home. My relationship with Caroline is the slowest to heal. We have dinners. We are civil. She is trying. But the trust is gone. I see her now not just as my daughter, but as a woman capable of a cruelty I never imagined. That knowledge sits between us. I hope in time, it will be joined by a new knowledge of her capacity for redemption. But my grandchildren's eyes are clear when they look at me now. The wariness is gone. That, perhaps, is the only pure victory in all of this. If you are listening, and you see someone in your life, a child, a partner, a friend, beginning to value the appearance of goodness over the practice of it, please, say something. Do not confuse enabling with love. A lie told to protect an image is a cancer on the soul. It will always grow. It will always demand more lies, more sacrifices of other people's reputations, more of your own integrity. And if you are the one being sacrificed on the altar of someone else's perfection, know this. Your silence, born of love, can be mistaken for complicity. There is a difference between graceful endurance and becoming an accomplice to your own slander. Set the record straight, not with drama, but with the quiet, undeniable truth of your own lived life. My daughter lied about me to protect her reputation. In the end, the truth did not just cost her that reputation. It cost her the easy love of her children, the blind trust of her husband, and the uncomplicated adoration of her mother. It cost her the person she pretended to be. What she has left, what she is building from the rubble, is the chance to become someone real. It is a harder, poorer, but more honest life. And I will be here, not in the front row cheering, but as a witness. A loving witness who will no longer look away from the truth, even when it is reflected in my own child's eyes. A reputation built on lies is a house of glass. Truth is not the stone that breaks it. It is simply the gravity that was there all along. Thanks for listening. If you want to hear more story like this, please like the video and subscribe the channel. Hit the bell icon to get notified.